The story I'm about to tell you about my family completely changed how I see blood, belonging, and what real American family values actually mean. I promise you won't believe how one quiet decision by my 76-year-old grandfather turned our entire world upside down. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old, a community storyteller and freelance writer living in Nashville, Tennessee. This all started 3 weeks before my younger sister Emily's big engagement celebration, a lavish party at the exclusive Belmead Country Club, planned as the perfect blend of old Southern tradition and modern success. It was supposed to showcase our family's climb up the social ladder. Instead, it became the day we almost lost the man who built everything we stood on. That evening, I froze halfway down the staircase of our family home in Franklin, accidentally overhearing my parents in the living room. My father, Richard Mitchell, owner of a growing commercial construction company, spoke with cold finality. Grandpa Henry, my 76-year-old grandfather, sat slumped in his worn leather armchair, the one he'd had since the 1980s, his broad shoulders curved forward like someone had punched him in the chest. "But son, it's my granddaughter's big day, a chance to celebrate family the way we always have." "Exactly," my mother, Patricia, cut in sharply, her voice dripping with ambition. "The Harringtons are old Nashville money. Mr. Harrington owns half the commercial real estate downtown. His wife sits on every charity board in town. We can't have you embarrassing us in front of them with those old factory stories, or that same blue suit from the 90s. Do you understand?" "I'm your father," Grandpa Henry said, his voice low and trembling but steady. "I worked 32 years on the assembly line at the GM plant in Spring Hill. When your construction business nearly went under 15 years ago after that bad mall project, I mortgaged my house, the only real thing I owned, to lend you $17,000. That was every penny I had saved after your mother passed. I did it so you could keep building for the family, for legacy." Dad's face hardened. "And it wasn't enough, was it? Other fathers helped their sons with real money, hundreds of thousands. You gave what you could, but now we're finally moving up. The Harringtons can open doors for Emily and for my company. You'll stay home." End of discussion. I stood there in the shadows, heart hammering, tears stinging my eyes. Grandpa Henry didn't fight back. He just nodded slowly, his rough, calloused hands folding quietly in his lap. "If this is your first time here, welcome. I share real stories about the families we're born into and the ones we choose. Stay with me, because what happened next shattered our family and then slowly began to heal it in ways I never expected." To understand why my parents could speak to Grandpa Henry like that, you need the whole picture. My father, Richard, always called himself a self-made man. He loved telling people how he started his construction company with nothing but hard work and a few good contracts. What he rarely admitted was how much he owed Grandpa. When Dad's early big project failed during the 2008 downturn, leaving him buried in debt, Grandpa Henry, then already retired on Social Security and a modest pension, mortgaged his small ranch-style home in a working-class neighborhood of Murfreesboro to give him that $17,000 lifeline. It wasn't a fortune to some, but for a widower who had lost his wife to cancer when Dad was only 12, it was everything. Still, Dad resented it. I once heard him yell at Grandpa, "Only 17,000. Real fathers invest big. You've always held me back with your small thinking." I was 13, hiding behind my bedroom door, crying as Grandpa stood silent, unable to respond. My mother, Patricia, came from a slightly more middle-class background. She always believed Grandpa favored me over Emily because I was the only one who actually spent time with him. The truth was simple: I cared. Every weekend I drove out to his house, bringing his favorite meatloaf or fried chicken the way he liked it. Sitting on the porch, listening to his stories about working the line at GM for over 3 decades, about coaching Little League, about raising my father alone after losing Grandma. Emily only called Grandpa when she needed someone to watch her dog or help move furniture. In Mom's eyes, though, any affection Grandpa showed me was unfair. Every small gift he gave, me an old pocket knife he'd carried for years or a handmade wooden birdhouse, brought complaints. Why doesn't Dad ever give Emily something like that? I tried explaining countless times. No one listened. The engagement celebration was planned on a grand scale. Over 200 guests at the Belle Meade Country Club, elegant white tents, crystal chandeliers, fresh magnolia centerpieces, a live country band mixed with a string quartet, an upscale Southern comfort food, shrimp and grits, bourbon-glazed pork, pecan pie towers. Tables ran $180 a head. The Harringtons represented everything my parents desperately wanted: old Southern wealth, country club membership, connections in real estate development, and local politics. They wanted to break in fully. Grandpa Henry, he was seen as a liability. The old retired factory man with a slight country accent, worn suits, and stories about the line and real work. 3 weeks before the big weekend, the tension boiled over during a seating chart meeting at our dining table. "We can't seat Grandpa at the head family table," Mom announced, marking the chart with a gold pen. "He won't know how to talk to people like the Harringtons. Those factory stories might come out." "What are you even saying?" I interrupted, stunned. "He's Emily's grandfather. He helped raise Dad. He mortgaged his house when the business almost collapsed." "Sarah, you don't understand social dynamics here," Emily said, sounding just like our parents, polished and entitled. "The Harringtons will notice everything. Grandpa showing up in that old blue suit. It'll make us look like we're still stuck in the past." I stared at my sister. "Emily, that's Grandpa. He coached your soccer team when you were little. He fixed every broken thing in this house for free. That's between him and Dad," she shrugged. "This is about my future." Dad shut me down. "Sarah, this is adult conversation. Go help your mother." I was 28, with a master's degree in communications and my own small nonprofit focused on preserving working-class American stories. But to them, I was still the overly emotional daughter who didn't get it. The next week, I noticed Mom had forgotten to send Grandpa a proper invitation while all the distant cousins received theirs. When he asked gently, she brushed it off. "Oh, Dad, your family. You don't need a fancy card." I knew the truth. They were deliberately sidelining him. Then came the big pre-engagement family gathering 1 week before the main event, a lavish, rehearsal-style dinner at our newly renovated home in Franklin. Grandpa arrived carrying a homemade apple pie, the kind Emily had loved since she was a kid, baked from scratch with his own hands, using his mother's recipe. Mom barely looked at it. "Just set it in the kitchen, Dad. We have a professional caterer handling desserts." I watched Grandpa's face crumble. He placed the pie down quietly and retreated to the edge of the room. All evening, conversations centered on the country club venue, the band, the honeymoon plans in the Caribbean, and how the Harrington connection could land Dad major construction contracts. No one spoke to Grandpa. He sat picking at his plate, eyes on the table. I couldn't take it anymore. I sat beside him. "Grandpa, are you enjoying any of this?" He gave me a small, sad smile. "As long as my girls are happy and healthy, sweetheart, I'm okay." My heart broke. Later, while everyone was laughing inside, I followed him out to the back porch. The Tennessee night air was cool. He wasn't wearing a warm enough jacket. "Grandpa, come back inside. It's getting chilly." "I'm fine, Sarah. Just needed some air." After a long silence, he asked softly, "Emily's getting engaged with all this fuss. When will my Sarah find someone who sees the real you?" "I'm focused on my work, right now, according stories of working folks and veterans." "I know," he whispered. "But don't wait forever, like I did. I spent my whole life working the line, providing, and now I've got nothing but an old house and memories." His words chilled me more than the night air. Before I could ask more, Mom called me inside to help clean up. That was one of the last real talks I had with him before the celebration weekend. 1 week before the big day, I overheard the final argument while stopping by my parents' house to pick up documents. Dad's voice echoed from the living room. "I've made up my mind, Dad. You're not coming to the engagement party. The Harringtons are high society. I can't have you making us look small." "But Richard, I just want to be there for Emily. Give her my blessing the old-fashioned way." "No, you stay home, period." "I won't risk it." I rushed downstairs. "You can't do this. He's family. He mortgaged his house to save your business when you were drowning." Dad turned, red-faced. "This isn't your business, Sarah." "It is. He worked 32 years so you could have chances he never did. And now you're ashamed of him?" Mom jumped in. "The Harringtons could help your father land big projects. We need to look successful. That means keeping certain things in the background." I looked at Grandpa. He sat silently, hands trembling in his lap, staring at the floor. No argument, no defense, just quiet pain that shattered me. "Grandpa, if they won't let you come properly, I won't go either." "No, sweetheart," he said hoarsely. "You go for your sister. I'll be all right. I always am." The resignation in his voice scared me deeply. My friends told me to stay out of it. "Family dynamics are complicated," one said. "Don't ruin your sister's moment." Even my best friend Rachel advised picking battles. Maybe I was being too dramatic. But I couldn't shake the feeling that staying silent would betray the one person who had always shown up for me. The night before the celebration, I drove to Grandpa's modest ranch house in Murfreesboro, the home he'd lived in for nearly 40 years. All the lights were off. His old pickup truck sat in the driveway. I knocked hard. No answer. I left messages and decided to check again early the next morning. The engagement weekend arrived. The Belmead Country Club looked magical, white tents glowing with string lights, magnolia blossoms everywhere, tables set with fine china. I wore a soft blue cocktail dress as a bridesmaid figure, makeup done, but my heart felt like lead. I called Grandpa repeatedly that morning. Straight to voicemail. The evening unfolded beautifully on the surface. Emily looked stunning. Her fiancé, Tyler Harrington, smiled confidently. My parents beamed, especially while chatting with the Harringtons. Toasts were made. The band played. Everything seemed perfect. But all I could think about was Grandpa sitting alone at home on a night that should have included him. During the reception portion, Mom suddenly remembered. "We haven't picked up Grandpa Henry's engagement gift yet." "Gift?" Emily asked, surprised. "Yes, it's tradition. Grandparents usually give something meaningful on these occasions." I couldn't hold back. "He wasn't even properly invited. And now you're expecting gifts." "Sarah, it's custom," Mom said coldly. "Don't make a scene." After the party ended late that night, my parents, Emily, Tyler, and I drove to Grandpa's house to collect whatever he might have prepared. Anxiety twisted in my gut as we pulled up. The house was completely dark. No truck in the driveway. Dad used his spare key. When the lights came on, we all stopped cold. The house was empty. No furniture, no family photos on the walls, no old TV, no recliner, no kitchen table. Just a few cardboard boxes stacked neatly in the corner and a single white envelope on the clean kitchen counter. Mom gasped. "Where did Dad go?" Dad grabbed the letter and began reading aloud, his voice growing louder and angrier with every sentence. "Dear family, by the time you read this, I will be settled in my new home at Oak Ridge Senior Living Community in Murfreesboro. I have sold my house and most of my belongings after thinking about this for a long time. With Sarah's help and support, I made arrangements for my future. The proceeds paid for 3 years of care at Oak Ridge up front, so I won't be a burden on anyone. The remaining $49,000 has been placed into the American Roots Fund that Sarah manages through her nonprofit. This money will help support programs for isolated seniors, storytelling workshops, veteran history projects, community gardening, and activities that help older Americans feel valued again. I've realized I have become an embarrassment to this family. A retired factory worker with old stories and simple ways doesn't fit your new social circles. I'm grateful for the years we had, but it's time for me to step back and let you live without the weight of an old man who doesn't belong. Sarah, my dear granddaughter, you have always been my light. Thank you for listening to me, for helping me tour places without judgment, and for respecting what I wanted. The folks at Oak Ridge treat me with real kindness. I finally feel like I matter again. I wish Emily and Tyler a lifetime of happiness. I'm sorry I couldn't be there the way I hoped, but I understand. Please don't try to contact me directly. My attorney, Michael Reynolds at Reynolds Legal, will handle any family matters. Take care of yourselves. Henry Mitchell. Dead silence filled the empty room. Then Dad exploded. He gave away our inheritance to some charity. That stubborn old man, that house was supposed to be for the family. Mom spun toward me. You helped him. You knew about this. Yes, I said, my voice shaking but firm. It was his house, his money, his life. And yes, I helped because someone finally listened to what he needed. $49,000, Emily cried. That could have been a deposit on a house or helped with the wedding. How could you let him throw it away on strangers? I looked at each of them, anger and disgust rising. Is money and appearances all you care about? Grandpa left the only home he's known for 40 years because he felt so unwanted on his granddaughter's engagement night. And all you can talk about is the cash. Sarah, you don't understand real pressure, Dad began. No, you listen to me for once, I said, voice rising with years of held-back pain. Grandpa Henry loved this family with everything he had. He worked the line for 32 years. He mortgaged his house when you were about to lose everything. He coached sports, fixed cars, cooked Sunday dinners, and prayed for us every single night. He sat through every family event in silence while you treated him like he was invisible. Today, on a night that should have been about family coming together, you banned him because his stories or his old suit might embarrass you in front of rich people. Real family isn't just blood. It's showing up. It's asking about someone's life. It's remembering he likes his coffee black with 1 sugar. It's valuing the hard work and values he passed down, the same values that built this country and this family. Emily, did you ever ask Grandpa about his years at GM? Did you know he mentored dozens of young workers? Did you know he lost Grandma when you were little and still showed up for every important moment? No, you only called when you needed something. Tyler stood awkwardly to the side. Emily whispered to him that maybe they should go. I kept going. You lost a good, decent man because of greed and shame over where you came from. I hope that stays with you every day. I turned and walked out of the empty house, leaving them standing in stunned silence. The next day, I drove to Oak Ridge, senior living community. I expected something cold and institutional. Instead, I walked into a warm, welcoming place. The grounds had beautiful gardens, American flag flying proudly, and a big front porch with rocking chairs. The receptionist, Linda, smiled genuinely. Mr. Henry, he's probably in the community room with the other folks. Everyone's taken a real liking to him already. Let me walk you over. As we moved through the halls, I saw residents playing cards, chatting. Some working on model trains or woodworking projects. A group was gathered around a veteran sharing stories from his service days. The atmosphere felt like a big, extended family. We reached the community room where Grandpa sat at a table with 4 other men, laughing over a game of dominoes. A staff member named Marcus, a young guy in his late 20s, was helping run the game. Mr. Henry, you're killing us with that poker face again. Marcus Joheda, sweetheart. Marcus stood and shook my hand warmly. Mr. Henry talks about you all the time. the granddaughter who actually comes to visit and records his stories. Grandpa excused himself from the group. An older gentleman patted his shoulder. Come back soon, Henry. We're doing a fishing story night later. Your tales from the lake are the best. We found a quiet spot on the back porch overlooking the garden. We sat for a moment in comfortable silence. You're probably upset with me, Grandpa said softly. Upset? No, Grandpa. I'm heartbroken it came to this. But I'm proud of you for choosing your own peace. I'd been thinking about it for months, he admitted. When I first mentioned looking at senior communities last summer, you didn't dismiss me. You came with me. We toured this place together. The staff here asked about my life at GM, about coaching ball, about raising your dad alone. They saw me as a person, not a problem. I remembered that day clearly. The facility offered veteran appreciation events, community gardening plots, storytelling workshops, and regular live music nights with local bluegrass and country bands. Residents were treated with dignity and genuine interest. The people here remember things, Grandpa continued. Yesterday, a nurse brought me coffee exactly how I like it, black with 1 sugar. She remembered from our first conversation. When was the last time anyone at home asked how I take my coffee? Never, I thought with a pang. Last night at dinner, he smiled. Folks asked about my years on the line. One gentleman used to work at Ford. We swapped stories for hours. No one looked bored. No one pulled out their phone. They actually listened. Tears filled my eyes as the truth sank in. At Oak Ridge. Grandpa wasn't the embarrassing old factory retiree. He was Henry Mitchell, GM veteran, Little League coach, gardener, storyteller, man who built things with his hands and his heart. He mattered. The fund you're running, he said. I wanted that money to help seniors like me who feel forgotten. Fund workshops where elders can share their stories, gardening programs, veteran meetups, grants for folks who want to learn something new, even late in life. You're good at this kind of work. My nonprofit focused on preserving working-class American histories through oral recordings and community events. Grandpa had always been my biggest supporter. I'll make sure every penny honors what you wanted, I promised. I know you will. He patted my hand. You've always been the best of us, Marcus returned gently. Mr. Henry, sorry to interrupt, but the Bluegrass Trio is setting up in the gathering hall. You said you didn't want to miss it. We spent the afternoon listening to lively music, Grandpa tapping his foot with a peaceful smile. I hadn't seen him look this content in years. In the months that followed, my parents and Emily tried to force contact through attorney Michael Reynolds. He was clear and firm. Grandpa was a competent adult. His decisions were legal. Any harassment would result in a restraining order. He only wanted contact with me. The family faced hard realities. Dad's construction company hit a rough patch when a major project fell through. Without Grandpa's past, emotional, and occasional financial steadiness as a quiet safety net, Dad had to downsize, sell his fancy truck, and even refinance the house. Mom had to cut back on shopping and country club lunches, slowly realizing how much she had chased status over substance. Emily's engagement hit bumps. Tyler came from a family that valued tradition and respect for elders. When he learned the full story, tension grew. They eventually called off the engagement after a year. Emily moved back home quieter, more thoughtful. I threw myself into the American Roots Fund. Grandpa's story, shared carefully through my blog and workshops, struck a chord with many. Posts about forgotten working-class seniors went viral in local and national circles. We expanded programs, storytelling nights, community gardens, veteran appreciation events, and small grants for seniors. Hundreds of older Americans benefited, reconnecting with purpose and community. I visited Grandpa faithfully twice a week. We worked in his garden plot together, recorded more of his stories, and attended music nights and card games. He looked healthier, happier, and 10 years younger. He even started teaching a small woodworking class, sharing skills he'd learned over a lifetime. 2 years later, Emily showed up at Oak Ridge one afternoon while I was with Grandpa. She carried a homemade apple pie, tears streaming down her face. "Grandpa, I'm so sorry. I was selfish and blind. I chose image over the man who baked pies for me when I was little and coached my teams. I finally understand what I threw away." Grandpa looked at her for a long moment, then smiled gently, the warm smile I remembered from childhood. "Come here, honey." They hugged tightly, both crying. Forgiveness wasn't instant, but it began. Emily started visiting regularly. She brought her new boyfriend Latera, kind high school teacher who respected hard work and history. They talked for hours about community values. My parents took longer. Their first visit, almost 3 years after the engagement party, was tense and full of awkward apologies. Dad admitted he had lost sight of where he came from. Mom spoke of learning to value people over appearances. Grandpa forgave them too. "We all stumble when pride gets in the way," he said. "What matters is getting back up and seeing each other clearly again." Healing wasn't a fairy tale. Some conversations were still difficult, but progress happened in shared Sunday dinners at Oak Ridge, in volunteering together at the fun's events, and in quiet moments where the family finally listened to Grandpa's stories. The American Roots Fund kept growing. We helped hundreds of seniors across Tennessee find connection, purpose, and voice. Every success I shared with Grandpa. One beautiful spring afternoon, 4 years later, I found Grandpa in his thriving garden plot, hands dirty from planting tomato seedlings and American flags for the upcoming Memorial Day. "You know what I finally understand, Sarah?" he said with a content smile. "I spent decades trying to earn a seat at a table that didn't want my stories. But here, respect and friendship are given freely. These plants I'm putting in today may not see every harvest, but I plant them anyway because I've got time ahead of me now. Time I'm excited about instead of dreading." That moment told me everything. Moving to Oak Ridge wasn't giving up on life. It was Grandpa finally choosing a life where he was truly seen and valued. So tell me, in the comments, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you stay silent to keep fake peace? Or would you help the person who sacrificed everything find the respect he deserved? Have you ever seen family choose image over love? Drop your thoughts below. If this story moved you, like and subscribe for more real American family stories about heritage, hard work, and second chances. Remember this: real family isn't just sharing the same last name. It's showing up, listening, and honoring the roots that made us who we are. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is help someone walk away from a table that no longer sees their worth. And hope the family eventually learns to pull up a real chair. Thanks for watching. Call your grandparents today. Their stories are your American heritage. If you're watching this right now, hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments which city or state you're tuning in from.